Hey guys, Jessica Ruffin and NBC Sports' Steve Letarte here for NASCAR Fantasy Fastlane. We saw Kevin Harvick tame the monster at Dover this weekend. He's strong at Kansas too. So are you looking at putting him in your lineup?
Well, listen, Kevin Harvick would be in my lineup probably 26 weeks if I had that option, but I don't. And I think the same goes for Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. I think we could do the same Fantasy Fastlane for every mile-and-a-half track and say those three need to be in your lineup. So I don't think it's worth spending a lot of time on them. If you have the starts and they're your favorite driver and you want to put them in, by all means put them in. I think they're going to score great points. So the real question is, who are you going to look for a little bit deeper in your bench? Who's that going to be that gains you the points? And I look at Ryan Blaney. He has 4 Kansas top 10s and 6 starts. He knows how to run well. The Penske equipment's up front. I think that young driver is going to break through. I know he already has a win, but maybe it's time for him to get his second one.
So when you look at Ryan Blaney, he's definitely one of the rising young stars of NASCAR, but there are a lot of young stars that could get their first win of the 2018 season this week at Kansas. So who else are you looking at?
Well, I think, how about the biggest young star perhaps that doesn't have a win, and that's Chase Elliott. I think you have to have Chase in your field. His numbers are impressive, 2 top 10 finishes at Kansas. I know the Hendrick equipment hasn't been great, but it's been slowly improving, and you don't want to be missing out if they make the breakthrough. So I think Chase Elliott's the first name that comes to mind for sure.
We've got a new name in the Fantasy Live lineup this week. Matt Kenseth returns to Monster Energy Series competition for 2018. So
the pressure. What do I do?
I know. Do you want to play him? Is it too early?
Listen, Matt Kenseth is a champion. Roush Fenway's equipment has to be evaluated. That's why he's in that car. But if he's in my lineup, it's because he ran well all weekend. But he's going to have to prove it through practice.
He's owned by nearly 20% of Fantasy Live users already. And we know that number is just going to go up, especially if he does well in practice, like you said.
We're getting to the point in the season where creativity is going to be a must. That's the beauty of the game. We all knew the first 10 or 12 weeks were going to be straightforward because there were going to be no real restrictions on your drivers or they wouldn't have shown up yet. But we're getting to that point in the season where we're really going to find out who has the big names left and who can put them in the lineup.
Well, let's get a few more of your picks heading into Kansas this weekend with rapid fire, 1 lap around Kansas Speedway. Joey Logano.
His mile-and-a-half tracks have been great, but Kansas hasn't. He's really struggled there, been outside the top 23 of the last 4, so I'm avoiding him so far.
Darrell Wallace Jr.
Darrell Wallace Jr., you know, he's making his first ever Cup start at Kansas, and while you would think it's a straightforward mile-and-a-half, there can be some trickiness with the wind. Plus, he struggled there in the Xfinity car, so I'm avoiding Darrell Wallace.
Alex Bowman.
I actually have Alex Bowman as a sleeper and perhaps a starter. Pit strategy could come into play. I liked Greg Ives' pit strategy at Dover, even though it didn't work out with the yellows. If he stays aggressive, that will work at Kansas.
Last one, Daniel Suarez.
Well, Daniel Suarez, unfortunately, has been in the news for the wrong reasons this week with his penalty, but don't let that take away from his good run at Dover. I think what they found at the Tech Center, while it was illegal and there had to be an issue, I don't think it's going to hurt his performance. So I expect him to continue forward and hopefully have a good run at Kansas.
Well, we will see this weekend. A lot of racing left to go. Be sure to set your lineups, check them, and tune into the race Saturday, 8 p.m. on FS1.